sahi yuktatma mam evanuttamam tamam gatim udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astitak sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astitak sahi yuktatma Mame vanutamam gatim udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astitak sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Go ahead, Daniel. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Prakash. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam Astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. You want to try? Go ahead, in the corner there. Yeah. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma me matam Astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Okay, Eddie or Ferdy, one or the other. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Ladies. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Asha. Udara sarva evaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mame vanutamam gatim. Anyone online?
Udara sarva evaite
Udara sarva evaite
Jnani tvatma eva me matam
Jnani tvatma eva me matam
astita sahi yuktatma
astita sahi yuktatma
mame vanutamam gatim.
mame vanutamam gatim. Is that you, Vanessa?
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Okay. So you just chanted?
Yes, that was me. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Now I have a question because you come on in the morning sometime, but we can hardly hear you. There's some the sound isn't as good. Do you use a different system or something?
Sometimes I use my headphones, but most of the time
Anyway, I request that you use the same sound system because you're clear as a bell in the evening, but in the morning it's right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, just a small thing. Haribol. All right, let's go on. I'll read the word by words. Udara, magnanimous. A spelling mistake in the Sanskrit? What is it? Mam Evan Uttamam? Oh, it's in your book, but not in mine. Oh, in the Devanagari.
Yeah, Devanagari. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So hold on to that book. When we finish the class, make sure I see it, because it may just be in that edition, an old. All right, word by word. Udara, magnanimous, sarve, all, eva, certainly, ete, these, jnani, one who is in knowledge, too, but, atma, eva, just like myself, me, my, matam, opinion, astitaha, situated, saha, he, certainly, yukta atma, engaged in devotional service, mam, in me, eva, certainly, anuttamam, the highest, gatim, destination. Okay, translation. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Purport. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous, because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma, or a great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit, and when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.468, the Lord says, Sadhavo vidiyam mayam, sadhu nam vidiyam tvaham, madanyat te najananti, naham tebyo managapi. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, just to review, because this section began in verse 16. Where Krishna describes four kinds of pious people who approach him, who are, they begin to render devotional service. So these four are the Arto, Jigyasur, Artarti, and the Jnani, which means in English, those who are distressed. Now, we can know this is a very common reason for anybody to approach God. Prabhupada talked about the ladies in Germany near the end of the World War II. I read a history. They drafted practically everyone. It didn't matter how old you were. They were drafting 60 and 70-year-olds into the army. It was crazy. But so the women were all left at home, and their fathers, their husbands, their brothers, and their sons were all in the army. So naturally, they went to the church every day, very, Orthodox Lutherans, I think, in that time, Germany mostly. And they prayed like anything for their brothers and sons, whatever, to come back, to be returned to them intact. But a large number of them didn't come back. Either they got killed, or they did come back, they were gravely injured, or whatever, And so many of these ladies, they lost their faith in God, because they were so ardently praying, and he didn't reveal, so what kind of God is that, like that. This is the problem with approaching God for these reasons. Arto means distrust, which is a large thing, or jigyasur is out of curiosity. And artarti is for money. You're chiefly looking for some wealth, like Dhruva Maharaj. Not so much someone who's poverty-stricken. They fit into the arta, those who are distressed. That's a very deep time of distress. But those who are, doing okay, but they want to make millions, that's the artartis. Their only goal, arta, is money. So that's another. But if they approach God for it, then they're within the pious group. And then, of course, the Gyanis, who Krishna then glorifies in 17, and the verse we wrote today, 18. He says, out of all of them, the Gyanis are most dear to me. And why is that? Because the Gyanis mean that they're not looking for knowledge of the Lord, from the Lord so much, but they're already in knowledge, and they know that any kind of material desire that you have, the Lord may fulfill it, but you're not going to achieve the ultimate goal of being free from all desire and being on the transcendental plane. Hare Krishna, thanks for coming. So the Gyanis, and Krishna will describe them in detail in the next verse that we read, will be 19, which is a very famous verse. But it's important to understand that these are all within the Sukritina, the pious group. If someone is in need of some, money to pay the rent or whatever, they go to church, they're within the Sukritina. And they can then more easily come into the realm of pure devotional service, because they already believe in God, at least, But those out-and-out atheists, he mentioned them before, namam dushkritano mudha, papadyante nararama, maya pitara asuram bhavamashrita. That those who don't surrender me at all, even for praying to me for material things, because they don't believe I exist, that's the out-and-out atheists, then they're in these four categories. Mudhas, just foolish rascals, not very smart. Naradama, the lowest among mankind. Naradama, those whose apita jnana, those whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion, and the out-and-out atheists. They're known as the asuras, demons. So we don't want to become part of that group, We may have been part of that group. I mean, how many times do I have to? I was raised as an Orthodox communist, and so I didn't believe in God, even though I came from generationally a Jewish background. So I was, I just didn't believe. So that's the most dangerous position to be in, because you're bound to get bewildered by this material energy and perform all kinds of sinful activities and probably lose your human form of life. So that's a very dangerous position. But so from the Bhagavad Gita, we should glean from this that we should try to learn, we should try to understand, go into the Jnani position of the who am I, what is this world, where did it come from, what is the relationship between all of us, like that. That is the path leading to knowledge. And then the verse we're going to read next, Krishna will exalt the one who has attained knowledge, this transcendental knowledge, and at how rare that is. And we have an opportunity to belong to that rare group. Prabhupada's books abound with this knowledge that we should try to cultivate. Okay, let's go on to 19. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Purport. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning toward impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to Him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, and that he, Krishna, is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained in the 3rd chapter, verses 14 and 15, of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Sahasrashirsha Purushak, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat, Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva, Jatishtad Dashangulam. Purusha evedam sarvam yad bhutam yad chabhavyam. Utar mitatvas yeshyano yaranenatirohati. Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of feet. Entirely encompassing the whole universe, he still extends beyond it by 10 fingers' breadth. He is in fact this entire universe. He is all that was and all that will be. He is the Lord of immortality and of all that is nourished by food. Close quote. In the Chandogya Upanishad 5.1.15, it is said, Navai vacho na chakshungsi na shodrani namanangshit ya chakshate prana iti eve chakshate prano ye vaitani sarvani bhavanti. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is the life air which is the center of all activities. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. See Bhagavad Gita 7.17 and 11.40. So, if you recall, near the beginning of this chapter, the chapter begins with Krishna encouraging Arjuna that now I'm going to explain how you can naturally have your mind become more and more attached to me. He says, Maya sakta manaparta yogam yunjan varashaya asangshayang samagangnam yata gyasati tat shrinu. Now Prabhupada picks up on that last word, shrinu, and he quotes a section from the 2nd chapter of the 1st canon of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is all about the importance of attaining, I would say, an ardent desire to hear about Krishna. In the very 2nd verse of the whole Bhagavatam, we find this word shushusho, which means the process of submissive oral reception, probably would translate, or sometimes just ardent hearing. Really, hanging on every word and taking it in, rather than just spacing out. That's the key. Because what he says what Sukadeva says and what Vyasadeva is saying is that it says, Dharma projit kaita bhota padamoni matsaranam satam vejam vastavamattavastu shivadam tapatrayun mulanam Shriman Bhagavate Mahamanukute King Vaparaya Ishvara Sagjodin Javadujate Chukutabi Shushu Shubis Takshanat. Very important verse. Very sobering verse. First he says, in this book, Atra means here in this Bhagavatam, which is the final culmination of all the Vedic writings, The Vedanta Sutra means the supreme knowledge, but the Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So that's how we can understand what it means. So here, this is he said, Dharma projit the kaita votra. Here in the Bhagavatam, we kick out all cheating dharmas. So dharma can also be misused, you see, such as the four Vedic principles, the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That you practice dharma. In this case, it means maybe worship of the demigods very ardently, studying of the Manusmriti and everything, so that you can get some artha, money, gold. Why? So you can get kama, the sense gratification. So dharma, artha, kama, you see? But if dharma is simply used in order to be able to get artha, it's one of the cheating religions. And Sridhar Swami, the original commentator on the Bhagavatam, he says that the desire to get liberation for oneself, merge into Brahman, is also a cheating religion. That's self-motivated. It's not arta, but it's better than arta. It's liberation, freedom from birth, old age, disease. But just for me, I'm not, but Prahlad Maharaj, he condemns this mentality. And he's speaking to Nrsingadev, I don't know if it's in the movie or not. That probably not. His offering of prayers. Oh, there's some of the prayers? Oh, that's fantastic. So, prayena deva munayo svava mukti kama. Notice svava mukti kama. Mukti kama means lusty desire for my own liberation. Prayena deva munayo svava mukti kama. Maunam charanti vijanena parartha nishta. Very important verse, because what he's saying there is that, for the most part, these munis, now munis, the word comes from mauna, means silent. Because it's understood if you're going to be wise, you have to be silent. Don't speak too much, because you'll speak prajalpa. So you're wise, you just hear, and meditate. So for the most part, prayana means for the most part, most of the munis, they're just after their own liberation. And so, maunam, they don't talk, they're very silent. Maunam charanti vijane, and they wander where there is no people. The hills and the Himalayas, somewhere in the jungle, there's nobody. What are they after? Svava mukti kama, their own mukti, and therefore they don't care about anyone else. So Prahlad says, Naitan vihaya kripana vimamuksha eko. I can't be like them. Naitan vihaya kripanan. Because of these kripanas, all of these poor souls who don't know anything about you, and that you're their only hope, my Lord. He's speaking to Nrsingadev directly. So, vimamuksha eko, I can't do that, imitating it just in the name of my own liberation. Because, and here's the key phrase, Nanya tvarati sharanam brahmato nishaste, that I see that there's no one else than you that can help them, and so I have to be your representative and give them you. You see? Very important verse for the Sankirtan movement, because that's really the mood behind it. The idea is that we're experiencing so much, we're learning so much, we're becoming free of Maya, but we have to realize there's a whole world of people who don't know anything about Krishna. This is the mood of Lord Chaitanya. He showed by example. He had two motives in coming, and we should follow his lead. One is that he had his own personal motive. It's so incredible. It shows that Krishna's in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, And so he looks, there's all these palaces there and everything. And he sees his own reflection in a pillar or something that's very polished, And he says, oh, that beauty, That's amazing beauty. I would like to really appreciate that beauty from the point of view of Radharani, because she appreciates my beauty more than I can even, because of through the lens of her ardent love, she appreciates the beauty. See, he doesn't use those words, but that's the idea. So there's a verse right at the beginning of the CC describes that. I'm not going to judge my mind for that verse, but I'll play the meaning. So therefore, I will now, how can I possibly get, and not only that, I'll appreciate my own beauty, but I'll also appreciate what she feels from loving me. You see, that ecstasy, that pleasure. And third thing is, she'll appreciate what it feels to be loved by me. And he says, from my point of view as Krishna, I can't experience any of these. So I'm going to come in with the mood and the complexion of Srimati Radharani. This is his internal reason. And he showed, in his pastimes, especially at the end, he was all in the mood of Radharani. That's what this last verse of the Shikshastika is all about. The last two verses, actually. Yugayitam nameshena chakshusha pravashahitam shunyahitam jagat sarvam Govinda vidahena me. Now here's Govinda in the form of Lord Chaitanya, but he's feeling that in the mood of Radharani. So he says in my little poetry version, every moment drags on like 1,000,000 years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes, the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. O Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. So this is spoken by Radharani, spoken by Lord Chaitanya, he wrote it, but in the mood of Radharani, you see? And the last verse is totally the same thing. Ashlishyava padadatang panashtamam adarshanan marmahatang karotuva. Yatatatava vidadhatu lampato mat prananatas tu saheva napara. You can sit on the bench there, it's very comfortable. And if we can take a book from that. There, you can have it. So what does it mean? So in Radharani is speaking, and she's separation from Krishna. Yeah, you can get that. And we're studying text 19 on page 327. We read it. So she's lamenting, that Krishna's not coming. He's not here. So she says, let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me, or my most ardent hopes defeat, by never giving me a chance to see him anywhere, thus shattering my heart and plunging me into despair. You see, he is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. So this is a pure verse of separation. Radharani's in Vrindavan, Krishna's gone to Mathura, and she and all the other gopis are lamenting, and this is the kind of thing they're feeling. So anyway, this kind of mood is not there when one approaches Krishna for some material means. But you're still on the good side because you're approaching Krishna. And if you come to the temple here and you see the beauty of the deities and you're attracted to the beauty, you taste the prasadam and then you hear and you chant Hare Krishna, then you can begin to move away from just that material motivation. Material motivation can become insignificant, or it can disappear. Because the real motivation is that we should pray to Krishna for pure love for him. And there's so many verses by the Goswamis that are praying like that. And even Queen Kunti, she's praying, why are you going? When we're in trouble, you come. So let there be more troubles. Every time we were in danger, you appeared and saved us. But now you're going back to Dwarka. The war is over. The Pandavas are installed. So let them come again and again. We can see you again and again. So finally, near the end of her prayers, she has this beautiful prayer which I put into a poem. Tvaye me ananda vishaya mati madhupate sakrit ratamun mahatarandha gange baugamadhanvati. Oh, Madhu's Lord. He was the Lord of the Madhus, but it's not such a well-known name, so I just make Madhava. O Madhava, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. Now, this is a prayer that any of us can utter in front of the deities. And you have it if you want. I'm sure on this side you already have my poems. But I have a poetry file I can send you. You have to send me an email. Dravida 108. Or you get it from one of the others. Go. So anyway, this is, Bhagavad Gita doesn't express those kind of emotions so much. But the basic principle is the same. And here this verse, this is and the verse he quotes in the purport here, that was in 18. Did we do 19 yet? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so now one thing I wanted to point out, there are some difficult quotes from the Upanishads here. You notice there's no meter, and it's not so easy to chant. So this is the nature of that. But these are Prabhupada is picking these up from the commentary of Baladev Vidyabhushan. He dedicates this book to Baladev Vidyabhushan. Now, he wasn't born with that name, Vidyabhushan. Vidyabhushan is an epithet that he win from being decorated with knowledge. That's what it means. Bhushan means a decoration or an ornament of knowledge. Very learned scholar. And he wrote a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita and also a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So he's picking up these quotes, from Baladev's commentary. And you have to understand, when this book was first published in 1972, they didn't have, there was no Sanskrit scholar who could read these quotes from the Upanishads and include them as Prabhupada. He quoted them, so they were, you probably find it in the 72 edition, which is the big one, the Macmillan edition, that these quotes aren't even there, or if they are, they're mangled because no one could understand them. So therefore, there had to be a revision in 83. And that was the second edition. You find it with all of those quotes, because by that time, my old friend Gopi Puranadana Babu, a scholar who, he passed away in 2011. untimely. He had asthma, and he had put his breather, what do they call that, up on the shelf. He was alone. But he was in Vrindavan. He was next to Govardhan Hill. And he passed away then. But he helped revise this book. He helped complete the Bhagavad Gita, the last 120 chapters, most of the 10th canto, 11th canto, 12th canto. I was working with him in Miami. Very wonderful devotee, very wonderful scholar. So anyway, that's some of the ideas. And we did 19, right? Yeah. So this, just to emphasize the importance of this text, text 19, probably we'll quote this all the time. After many, many births, bahunam janmanam ante, jnanavan, one who is full of knowledge, what's the result? Surrenders unto me, you see? Vasudeva sarvamiti, and he knows, iti means he's understanding, that Vasudeva is everything. Now how is he everything? Because everything is either his energies or him personally. He's present within every atom as the Supersoul, so in that way he's present everywhere. But all these energies, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, that was the beginning of the chapter. There's nothing in existence but Krishna and his energies. And understanding that and trying to live that means, okay, well, then I should try to see him everywhere. And I should try to follow the instructions so that I can achieve the wonderful goal of going back home, back to Godhead. Back home, back to God. We're all exiles here. We don't belong here. We're spiritual, and this is a world of matter. Right? So understanding that, and that there's really no hope of adjusting this material world to be happy. You can be happy for a little bit longer, a little while, but it has to come to an end. That's why one of my favorite verses, those who attended my classes, I've quoted it maybe 100 times over the years. Text, chapter 5, text 22. Yehi sangsparjajam bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. Adyantavanta konteya nateshu ramade buddha. So the new translation is, the little revised translation. Intelligent persons don't take part in the pleasures that are due from the contact of the senses with the sense objects. O son of Kunti, those pleasures are the sources of all misery, and they have a beginning and an end, and so the wise do not delight in them. Then one may naturally ask, well, what other kind of pleasure is there? Previous verse. He says, what is it? Baya sparshesu. Baya means external. Baya sparshesh asaktatma. Vindatyatmati yat sukham. Sa brahma yoga yuktatma. Sukham akshaya mashnute. We'll start at the end of the verse. Sukha means happiness. Akshaya means unbroken. Ashnute, enjoy. Where is there unbroken happiness or pleasure in this material world? Nowhere. It's always flickering. It may go on for, some minutes or even an hour, but then eventually it's over. And so, to achieve that, so he says, eschewing means rejecting this contact of the sense of the sense. Baya sparshesu means external. Asaktatma, he's not attached. Vindajatmani, he's enjoying the pleasure within his heart, that reservoir of pleasure. Krishna is there in the heart. We have that reservoir. We just have to learn how to contact. Atmaya, sub Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. So the soul linked to Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Then if you can do that, if you link, especially through loving devotional service, Sukha Makshaya Mashnate. You can always be enjoying in different varieties of happiness. That's what's going on in the spiritual world. And that's what's going on in the hearts of the devotees, even in this world, who are on that level. Prabhupada was always relishing that relation with Krishna. All of this, the austerity that he underwent in order to preach Krishna's glories, you can imagine how dear he was to Krishna. So we want to follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas. And reading his book, reading the Bhagavad Gita as explained by his pure devotee, is a very important act of sacrifice. You're sacrificing time and attention and becoming enlightened. And when you understand that Vasudeva is everything and you surrender to him, then you'll be a Mahatma. Hare Krishna. So any discussion on this important verse or this important section? Now he's going to criticize the demigod worshippers. Kamais taistai vitargyana papadyante anya devataha tam tam niyamamastaya Prakritya niyatak swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Purport. Those who are freed from all material contaminations surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in His devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by the external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him. As stated in Bhagavatam 2.3.10, Akama sarva, I'll say, you say, Akama sarva kamo va, moksha kama hudaradihi, Tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But the devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided. Because in Vedic literature there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. For example, a diseased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 5.142, it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna ar sababhritya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is master, and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. So, this is the warning, and it's amplified in the 9th chapter. Krishna describes how if you're successful in that worship of the demigods, then you may actually go to the heavenly planets, where he says, Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam. You see, vishala means very wide and, pleasures. Bhuktva svargalokam vishalam. In Svargaloka, in heaven, these successful worshippers of demigods, many don't achieve it, but some do, they go to heaven and they can enjoy for quite a long time comparatively, thousands of millions of years maybe, very wonderful sense gratification. But it's material. And chine punye, once your piety is diminished, you're spending like your credit card. Punye martya lokam vishanti. You return to this world. You return to this earth world. No, he doesn't say the earth. He says this world of death. Martya loka. Hello, he's not mincing any words. So then he said, Evam tuhi dhammam anupapanna gadagatam kama kama labante. Therefore, following this part of the Vedas, the part that the Karma Kanda, you simply go and come. You're not really making any progress. You think you're making progress, but you're not getting nearer to Krishna Loka. You're just using up your pious credits, and then boom, you come back down to Martya Loka. So what's the advantage? You've just wasted millions of years, how long you've been up there. So that's why, and we have a little time now. That's why it's so many in so many verses it says, don't waste time. Immediately strive for the ultimate good, Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you can easily be stolen away. Your mind can be stolen away by the heavenly planets or whatever. So there's this verse that I quote all the time, which is worth knowing. Labdva sudurlabamidam bahusam bhavante manushyam artadam anityamapi adira turnam yateta napateda namityavad nikshe yasaya vishaya kalasarva takshat. I think Krishna speaks this in the Bhagavad Gita, but could be the 9 Yogendras. Anyway, Labdva, you have attained. Sudurlabham, what is difficult to attain, after many, many births, bahusambhavante, manusham, a human form of life. The word is man is in there, man is in there. Manusham, why is it so important? Artadam, because in this in this body alone, this form of life alone, amongst the 8,400,000 species, you can usually attain the goal, the arta, the ultimate good. Not money, that in that other context, arta means something. But here, the ultimate valuable thing. But like all others, it's anityam, it's temporary, so the clock is ticking. Don't waste time. That's the whole point of this verse. So one has to be dhira. He has to be undisturbed, equipoised, and consider all the factors. And then follow the next word in the verse. Turnam, immediately, without wasting time. Yateta, strive for the ultimate good. Turnam yateta anamritya yavad, as long as you haven't died yet. Nikshayasaya. There's Shreyas and Preyas. You know that famous comparison. Preyas is immediate good, or a little deferred. Okay, I'll work hard, get a good degree, get a good job, then I'll really enjoy. That's still Preyas. But Shreyas is the ultimate good that you can achieve. We don't know what it is. You have to know what it is. You have to be attracted to it and understand, and then know the means of attaining it. So that's in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So Nikshayasaya, and then he ends the verse, Vishayakala sarvatakshat. Because after all, in all these other bodies you've been in, besides the human form, you've had varieties of Vishaya, sense gratification. And where has it gotten you? Here, another material body, facing death, old age, like that. So there's no percentage in it. The percentage is zero. Ultimately, you lose everything. Krishna takes it all away. But if you strive for the ultimate good, you have to approach the right source of knowledge, then you can solve these four problems: birth, old age, disease, and death. And more than that, you can actually enter into the realm of Akshayamashnadev, is unending happiness. That's the promise of the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam. And the example that's been given by our acharyas, by their writings, they're explaining it and what they're experiencing, and Prabhupada showed by his example that he was unperturbable. So many difficulties, that whole thing in Bombay, where they attacked the temple, and he had his foolish disciples at the time try to give the land back. Luckily, he was so greedy, he didn't give the money back. Or he didn't give the deposit. Anyway, it turned out all right. Krishna was in charge ultimately. But Prabhupada, for some time, he's saying, oh boy, they've given when he heard that, he just hung up the phone. They told him on the phone he was somewhere else. You read it in Giriraj Swami's book, I will build you a temple. It's nicely described. So, but it's such a struggle, to get that land and build the temple. Now it's such a thriving temple, such a wonderful temple. So it was that way all the time. There was always another hill to climb, Prabhupada was doing, and even, the last... when he's about to leave his body, he's still dictating the purports to the 10th canto. There's a video of that. It's amazing. So it's so inspirational what he gave, so we could have that. He was already there, but he was the transparent medium for delivering Krishna's message and for delivering love of Godhead. So we should take advantage without wasting any time. All right. And we read 20, right? Yeah. All right, let's read one more. Text 21. Yo yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya chitamicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. I am in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So the Supersoul, he's giving us good instruction, but we reject it, we do this. Okay, well, you'll have to learn a lesson this way. Purport: God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Supersoul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Supersoul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes, but his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the Supreme Will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord, or the Supersoul, who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated, quote, "The Supreme Personality of Godhead as Supersoul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the Supreme Will. They are not independent." So this question is, why did Krishna give us this independence? Which we could easily misuse, as we have done, and lead to so much suffering. Because without this free will, minute free will at least, there's no meaning to the word love. Prabhupada famously said, Krishna doesn't want us to love him at the point of a revolver. That's not love, So he's given us this, and we have a free opportunity to misuse it, and that's why we're here. But now we can use it properly. That's the whole idea. Turning to Krishna, even though we may have an attraction over here, okay, let me cultivate this because I know that it's kind of a disease that's bringing me back to birth and death, and I'll be cured of that disease if I can develop my attraction to Krishna, which is so possible because the very name Krishna means all attractive. So if we open ourselves up, especially in this age, through the chanting of the holy name, we should always remember that holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. And so if we can just pay attention, really carefully hear that holy name, we'll be attracted to Krishna. And the proof is, we become less attracted to Maya. So many things we say, I don't want that anymore. I just don't have any desire. So there's a change, there's a transformation. And that's the whole thing. Okay, we have 5 minutes. Time for a few poems. Okay, we have at least one new person here. Have you heard this poem, "Where Krishna lives, felicity abounds"? The fall and redemption of the soul. This is a nice one. She wants to take a movie of it. Then she blackmails me. So I'm going to put this on YouTube unless I get the 10-cent dish. Okay. Where Krishna lives, felicity abounds. With pure simplicity and loving sensibility, all serve him with humility. But when the living entity rejects his true identity and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity, he loses all sagacity and with it all capacity to understand reality or curb his sensuality. Abandoning humility, he touts his own ability, forgetting his fragility and fortune's volatility. Immersed in asininity for what seems an infinity of lives devoid of piety, he suffers in anxiety till contact with God's devotee, perhaps of utmost brevity, awakens his affinity for words of the divinity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and casts away his vanity. Endowed with new humility, he serves with all ability and growing spontaneity, his guru and the deity. Regaining his identity, the wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari. Now, are you going to post that on YouTube or something? Instagram. Okay, all glories to Prabhupada. Let's adjourn because they're going to blow that conch in a couple of minutes. And we'll be able to see Radha Giridhari. Okay. So, did we do 21? We did 21. Yeah. Oh, where is it? That's a mistake, huh? Okay, can you write me an email about it?
Okay.
And tell me, what the...
I'll ask Tapas to write him.
I'm sorry?
I'll ask Tapas to write him.
Tapas, yeah. Yes, point it out to him. And he'll...
326.
Okay, so we did 21. Okay, 22 tomorrow. Thank you.